Imagine you were living your life peacefully and suddenly realize everything around you is fake. The world and the people living in it are just an illusion created with augmented reality. Will you choose to escape or forget this truth forever? Thomas Anderson is a famous game designer and programmer. He created a record-breaking video game called The Matrix. The company is already preparing for the 4th edition of the game, and that's why Thomas is really busy these days. But he is not in his best form. He keeps getting lost in thought and he sees weird illusions of a life he can't remember living. His friend Jude pulls him out of thoughts and takes him to a nearby cafe. Thomas visits it quite often and always gets attracted to a gorgeous woman, but he never dared to take a step forward. The woman visits the cafe as usual, and this time Jude has decided to help his friend. He goes to the woman and introduces himself and Thomas. The woman is named Tiffany, and as soon as she holds Thomas's hand, they both feel some familiarity. It seems like they have met before, but can't remember it. Suddenly, another man walks in and introduces himself as Tiffany's husband. They seem to have a happy married life, and they also have a son, so Thomas doesn't stand a chance here. However, he can't help the attraction he feels towards Tiffany. The next day, Thomas is called by his business partner, Smith, who wants to discuss the upcoming release of the game. But Thomas can't concentrate and keeps getting weird illusions and thoughts. After the meeting, he goes to meet his psychiatrist. For the past few days, Thomas feels like he is having a mental breakdown or living inside a computer-generated reality that has imprisoned him. The psychiatrist believes that Thomas is experiencing this all because he is a suicide survivor and also has a powerful imagination. His business partner demanded him to work on some projects that Thomas doesn't like, so this incident triggered the mental breakdown. This explanation partially satisfied Thomas, and he leaves after getting his medicine. The next few days pass by in a mess. The company keeps working on the game launch and holds one meeting after another. All the employees are sharing their ideas, but Thomas stays lost in thoughts. He tries working on the game code but lacks concentration. Thomas is taking the medicines as well, but they aren't helping. He keeps getting memories of his past life, which he never actually lived. He sees faces of people he never met. The only thing that calms him a little bit is talking with Tiffany. She asks Thomas about Neo, the main character of the game. Thomas sees himself in Neo, and the character is really close to his heart. Moreover, the female character in The Matrix is Trinity, which has resemblance with Tiffany that is quite odd as Thomas never met her before. Tiffany also finds these coincidences weird, but before she can talk more, she gets a call from her son's teacher. She needs to leave in a hurry. Thomas returns to his company, but it's in a huge mess. All the employees are told to leave the building as soon as possible. A psychopath teenager has entered the company with a gun because he wasn't satisfied with the latest update in the game. Thomas also proceeds towards the exit, but he suddenly gets a creepy text from an unknown number. It asks Thomas to reach the restroom near the hall if he wants to know the truth. Thomas can't help his curiosity and heads to the restroom. His jaw drops when he sees a character from the Matrix game, Morpheus Uno. Thomas tries to convince his mind that it's just hallucinations, but everything seems too real. Suddenly, a bunch of agents attack them, just like it happens in the game. Morpheus fights the agents while Thomas hides under the table while saying that it's just an illusion. Suddenly, his business partner Smith walks in and grabs a gun. He becomes the main villain of the game and proceeds to shoot Thomas. Before the gun gets fired, Thomas gets teleported to his psychiatrist room. The doctor says that Thomas walked here by himself, but Thomas can't remember it. The doctor reminds him of their first session. Thomas came to him after he tried to jump off the building. He said he wanted to fly like the birds. Thomas accepts that he is having a mental disease that doesn't allow him to separate reality from fiction. Nothing happened in the company, and there's no text message on his phone. It must be all a part of hallucinations. The doctor believes that Thomas put way too much into the game. He wanted to resemble reality as closely as possibly. To reach this goal, he added some elements from his real life. He made himself the main character, his business partner as his nemesis, and his crush Tiffany as his love interest in the game. Many artists do such things, which makes it difficult for them to differentiate fiction and reality. Poor Thomas doesn't know how to cure himself. After heavy drinking, he stands on the roof again and tries to jump off to fly like a bird, but he gets saved by a woman named Bugs. She has been looking for him for a long time. Thomas is not crazy. He's actually in a computer-generated reality, but he took the blue pill which made him forget everything. Matrix is not just a game, it's augmented reality created to enslave humans by advanced robots. Even his friend Jude is a robot who is responsible to keep Thomas away from finding out the reality. If he wants to escape, he must trust Bugs, or the robot agents will kill her, and Thomas will be thrown back in the same loop again. Thomas decides to trust Bugs, and she uses a moving portal to get to a train in Tokyo. Then they use another portal to reach their hideout. They travel in this way so the robots can't track them easily. Morpheus is there too. He was the one who helped Bugs in finding, and Thomas was the one who created Morpheus so he can be found by the humans. Morpheus explains that the game Thomas created is actually his past life that he has forgotten. It's not a story. This all happened for real. But he had found that they were trapped in a matrix. The robots caught him and hid him in another fictional world. They even changed Thomas's appearance, which made it even more difficult for Morpheus to find him. However, they don't know why they didn't kill Thomas. After explaining everything, Morpheus gives him two choices. Either he can forget everything and go back to his fake life, or he can accept the past and fight against the robots. Thomas chooses the latter and starts gaining his powers. The robots have eventually found them, so they escape to the Tokyo train. They find a mirror and use it to get out of the matrix. Thomas finds himself in a pod, and his body is covered in weird switches. The robots use the switches to trap his mind in the matrix. Thomas notices Trinity in another pod before he gets carried away by two robots. He falls unconscious again and meets Morpheus in his thoughts. He tells Thomas to fight him and unlock his true strength. Thomas feels reluctant at first, but then he finally attacks back with full potential. This helps him gain his consciousness, and he wakes up in the real world. While most of humanity is stuck in the Matrix, some of the humans have succeeded in surviving in the real world. One of them is Bugs. She comes to talk to Thomas, who is really angry at the robots for stealing his life story and turning it into a game. Bugs says, "This is what the Matrix does. It weaponizes ideas and every dream of the poor humans." Thomas assumes that there's no way to fight against those powerful robots, but Bugs says that his past efforts did pay off. They have made progress. To show that, Bugs introduces Thomas to her team. It also consists of two robots that brought Thomas here. Not all robots are against humanity. Beside this achievement, Bugs' team also made it possible to interact with computer programs like Morpheus in the real world. This all is inspired by the efforts Thomas did for humanity in the past. He can't give up right now. The crew flies back to their hidden city and takes Thomas to their General Niobe. She used to believe that Thomas is the chosen one who could save humanity, but now her first priority is to keep the robots away from their city. She grounds Bugs and her crew for leading this mission without her permission. Thomas was indeed their savior, who helped humans realize they were stuck in the Matrix. But after he disappeared, the robots attacked their city, and they had to build another one. They have succeeded in regrowing vegetables and fruits. It all happened with the help of robots that got on their side after a war that happened among the robots. Thomas admires their efforts and asks for a favor. He wants to find Trinity. Niobe refuses, and she also orders to imprison Thomas. She doesn't want this either, but it's necessary to prevent their city getting located by the robots. However, Bugs is still on Thomas's side and helps him escape the city. Niobe doesn't stop them, but she is afraid for the worst consequences. Bugs and her team help Thomas get into the Matrix so he can tell Tiffany that she is Trinity. Before finding her, Thomas and his mates get attacked by exile programs, which are designed by the robots to eliminate anyone who messes with the Matrix. One of the exiles is Thomas's business partner, Smith. He was waiting for this chance for a long time to defeat the Chosen One by himself. Bugs and others handle the other exiles while Thomas fights with Smith. He almost gets killed by Smith, and if he dies in the Matrix, his physical body in the real world will die as well. Luckily, Thomas awakes his powers in time and defeats Smith. He runs away along with the other exiles while Thomas proceeds to meet Tiffany. She has tried playing the Matrix game and realized that it contains her past memories. Before Thomas can tell her the whole truth, they get interrupted by another man. It's Thomas's psychiatrist who serves as the analyst for the robots. He can control the whole Matrix and makes Thomas move in slow motion. He tells Thomas that he and Trinity had died, but the analyst wanted to study them, so he resurrected their bodies with special pods. He concluded that Thomas is connected with all the humans in the Matrix. By controlling his powers and emotions, the Matrix can be controlled. However, Thomas himself needs Trinity to unlock his full potential. By keeping both bodies at a particular distance and manipulating Thomas's memories, the analyst succeeded in controlling the Matrix as he pleased. He wants Thomas to return to the pod, and if he doesn't do that, the analyst will kill Trinity. Thomas returns to the real world and tells others what he experienced. Either he can save Trinity or save the humans stuck in the Matrix. Niobe calls all of them back to the city and scolds them for being so reckless. Suddenly, a robot friend arrives and asks for Thomas. An exile program named Sati wants to meet him. She is the daughter of the scientist who made the resurrection pods but was killed by the analyst. As revenge, Sati is willing to help Thomas in saving Trinity. She guides Morpheus and Bugs so they can reach the resurrection pod where Trinity is kept. Sati succeeds in separating her from the pod, but it's Trinity's personal decision whether she wants to return to the real world or start a new life in the Matrix. Meanwhile, Thomas and others head to the Matrix to meet the analyst. Thomas requests to talk to Tiffany. If she refuses to go with him, he will voluntarily go back to the pod. The analyst allows that and brings Tiffany. Thomas trusts her with all his heart, but Tiffany believes that it is too late. She has started a new family in the Matrix and wants to continue her peaceful life. As she leaves, the agents grab Thomas to take him to the pod, but all of a sudden, Tiffany turns back and changes her decision. She wants to be Trinity again. The analyst doesn't like that and proceeds to kill her. However, Smith appears out of nowhere to stop him. He is taking his own revenge from the analyst. In chaos, Thomas and Trinity proceed towards each other and finally hold hands. The impact of this powerful union destroys everything around them. They head out of the building, but the analyst hasn't given up yet. He is using all the bots in the Matrix as weapons. Thomas gets on Trinity's bike and they drive away. They reach the top of a building where they see the sunrise together. Trinity says she always dreamed of this and wants to be free. They both hold hands and jump off the building to see if Thomas can fly again. He doesn't, but Trinity does. This proves that humans can have more control on the Matrix than they assumed. They get back to the real world and hug with their physical bodies after a long time. Once they recover from the injuries, they go back to the Matrix to meet the analyst. However, this time the Matrix is under their control. They beat up the analyst and plan how they are going to redesign the Matrix as they like. All of us are slaves of our own minds. Once we realize how capable we are, there's nothing we can't do.